Hey guys, welcome back. We have a weekend energy update to get into. This weekend, we have a new moon in Virgo chart that we're going to be talking about, that we're going to be looking at. We have shifting vibes taking place this weekend. Friday, the sun enters the sign of Virgo. Early hours on Saturday, 2:07 a.m. Eastern, 6:07 Universal Time on Saturday, August 23rd. That is when we have our alignment between the sun and the moon taking place in the sign of Virgo, hence new moon in Virgo. Welcome to Virgo season, and the alignment is happening at exactly 0 degrees, 23 minutes of the sign of Virgo, so clearly the very first degree of the sign. This is going to bring a vibe shift though. As I said on Friday, the moon leaves Leo, enters Virgo, and then just a few hours later, the moon joins the sun and we do enter our Virgo season. Now, what is unique and interesting about both this weekend and our Virgo new moon, and also the span of time that our new moon cycle represents, which will be 4 weeks. Each lunar cycle represents 4 weeks. We have 2 weeks where we are like building into the energy, and then we have the full moon. We will have a full moon in Pisces in 2 weeks because Pisces is the oppositional sign to Virgo. So when the moon gets to that oppositional sign and aligns with where the sun happens to be transiting in the sign of Virgo, at that point, that will be our full moon in Pisces. That will be the midpoint in our lunar cycle, and then it will close out for the next 2 weeks while the sun and the moon prepare to come together in the sign of Libra, which will be our Libra season, which is coming up next. But in terms of both, as I was saying, the weekend, the way that this new moon is lining up, and this entire 4-week span of time that this lunar cycle represents, like, it's all likely to be a little bit weird. Mark my words, the plans that you think you may have set in place at this moment are probably not going to end up unfolding or going as they have been preordained, or just following the trajectory that has been established for them. This is definitely an expect the unexpected period of time. There are going to be sudden changes that kind of come out of nowhere, interference, disruptions, and also don't be surprised if you find yourself just feeling maybe like a bit of nervous tension that you like maybe can't put your finger on, or maybe things just feel very unpredictable. There's likely to be a heightened sense of stress and anxiety and mental health issues as well. I would say maybe like popping up during this period of time. We have a super Mercury heavy new moon chart and also energy blueprint coming through this weekend. That is because, of course, we are entering Virgo season. That is one of the signs ruled by Mercury, the messenger planet, our mind, our ideas, our thoughts, our thought patterns, how we're thinking about things, how we're communicating, what we're talking about, what we're learning, the flow of information generally. And we also currently right now, and if you guys have been following the astrology for a period of time, you already know this, but we have the planet Uranus at 1 degree of the sign of Gemini. Uranus recently concluded a 7-year transit of the sign of Taurus, entered Gemini, and is at the very beginning of Gemini right now. Now, Gemini is the other sign ruled by Mercury, and Gemini and Virgo, these are both mutable signs, and they're actually in a square to one another. So the defining energetic feature of this weekend, of our new moon chart, and also of this next 4 weeks, or at least this aspect is probably going to characterize a lot of what goes on or plays out over the next 4 weeks, is this Mercury dominant energy and the concept of the new moon in an almost perfect square to Uranus in the sign of Gemini. There's a distortion in the informational field. There's shakeups and disruptions and things of an informational communication-based nature. Now, also, what is like deepening this and also perhaps like electrifying this energy even further is a perfect trine that is happening between Uranus and Pluto in the sign of Aquarius right now. Now, that energy is another kind of just like undercurrent that has been going on and that will continue to go on and that we've been talking about sort of like on the peripherals of the faster moving, more day-to-day aspects and transits. But that is kind of like a persisting, sustaining energy. That is, I mean, Uranus is the great awakener. Uranus is known to bring sudden, unexpected change, but Uranus also makes the changes for us that we haven't been able to make for ourselves for one reason or another. And in the trine to Pluto, transformation and change in honestly, like some quite paradigm shifting ways are likely to be the result of this sustained connection between these two planets. And now we're talking about a highlight and an emphasis on the Uranian energy this weekend, this new moon, and all cycle long in the square almost exactly to the sun and the moon. These are very personal planets, obviously. And with that trine to Pluto, there could just be some powerful awakenings or some information that is being uncovered, something that we're awakening to, like epiphanies, learning something new or very transformative that is literally just forcing change somehow. Another, I would say, like energetic kind of like highlight that is standing out to me about the way that this particular new moon is setting itself up has to do with like, and this has also kind of been an ongoing theme because remember, we do have the south node of the moon transiting the sign of Virgo right now as well. So that means Virgo season this year is going to bring a sun south node conjunction. The south node is a point of karmic release, and the sign of Virgo, it's an energy that is actually trying to like alter our lifestyles, our behaviors, our thought patterns, our ways of doing things in ways that facilitate our growth and remove blockages or hindrances or like things generally that for some reason have been keeping us attached to past outdated, worn out versions or stunting our growth for some reason somehow. The south node, this is definitely a release valve in the sign of Virgo. This is our habits, our routines, lifestyle, the day-to-day, the work that we put into things and the outcome that comes as a result. Virgo is a sign of the harvest, also the sign of the healer. Another thing I will say is there's a very strong emphasis on health, well-being, wounding, pain, recovery, healing, overcoming like previous setbacks or states of victimhood. Stuff like that could be going on throughout the course of this cycle as well, but where I was going with the, well, I was talking about something a minute ago and then I was jumped over to the south node in the sign of Virgo, talking about the release valve there. But there is something that I feel like is highlighted here pertaining to patterns that have been repeating or perpetuating being disrupted somehow. I don't know, something about the need to make maybe like small changes in the way that we are doing things, but kind of like a lot of them in a way that ultimately maybe creates some like very sweeping or all-encompassing results. There's definitely, I would say some kind of theme coming through here that's like change your mind, change your life, like transform the way that you are thinking and like totally shift and alter how you are doing things. So that being said, you guys, the more that we can probably like consciously do to direct our energy like in that regard, like looking for, discerning, discovering like our own disorders, like our own root issues, like our own like deeper hangups and like the ways and the behaviors or the ways that we think and stuff like that that just aren't good for us or that are like sabotaging our growth or progress in some type of way. Like being able perhaps to take a deeper look and like diagnose some of those things within ourselves and then be open to like some type of outside of the box thinking in order to gain like maybe unexpected solutions or remedies that like solve these problems and actually allow like true growth or development or advancement or forward movement or forward progress or change to occur. I would say this is honestly probably a golden ticket gold medal award winner way of utilizing this particular energy that is coming through with this particular new moon. Now, I also think that it is a new moon that is probably going to provide or present a lot of challenges. We're talking about a Uranian square. Uranus is already an energy that can oftentimes like pull the rug out from under us. It's associated with the Tower card in the tarot, you know, lightning striking the tower. Uranian energy does seek to set us free. It does seek to like iron out the kinks and put us on a path that does facilitate some like higher future to come to pass somehow, but it just like often does so in a way that is like very unsettling, very sudden, and scary, honestly. And a lot of times we cannot see where it's going. We don't know how things are gonna land. It's super unpredictable, and with all this Gemini, Virgo energy represented here, Mercury energy, it could be giving like quite a headache. Again, I do think like mental health challenges could be a struggle for a lot of people this cycle, even people that generally have very sound mental health and are very grounded and rooted in the reality. Oh, let me tell you what, you guys, we are totally just at a loss when it comes to that grounding influence, this Virgo cycle. And it's a Virgo cycle, like it's a earth sign new moon, the sun and the moon in an earth sign. You would think that this would be a very like down to earth, logical, practical, coherent period of time, and normally it would be, but the fact that it's also coming in at like that 0 degrees, like we didn't even make it a full degree into the sign of Virgo, okay? And we immediately hit that Uranian square that just destabilizes everything, that shakes the ground that we're standing on, that is, you know, the tower just falling out from under our feet, and us trying to like figure out how to regain our bearings in the midst of a very shaky foundation. And then we also like literally the only other earth sign energy that we have present at all in our collective chart right now in terms of the big planets that, you know, we all follow. And I'm not talking about like the asteroids and the other bodies and stuff like that, but in terms of just like standard astrology, would be the south node of the moon. And as I told you guys already, that is the release valve, okay? That is the flush. That is the tail of the dragon. Sometimes the north node is referred to as the head of the dragon, the south node as the tail of the dragon. The north node is like what we are kind of like ravenously going after, and the south node is what we gotta drop off in order to make room for, you know, what we're getting into next. So, you know, the south node in the sign of Virgo, that is a like a holy, again, like it is just like making it so whatever Virgo, the day to day, the structure, the rules, the protocols, the systems, like the steps to things are having to change. Like there's an ending there. There's like a loss there because this is the south node. This is what's being released. And also, as I said, as we move through Virgo season, the sun is going to come into the conjunction with the south node, and that is going to be another kind of like highlight in our year that is representing karmic release. Now that I'm talking about karmic release, I think that's another theme that we can just like go ahead and pin to our board in the context of our Virgo season this year. If you guys watched my video I put out on Monday, I was also saying how we have a real strong Chiron influence present this week also. Now, Chiron, it's interesting because Chiron does have Virgo associations. Like there are some schools of astrological thought that consider Chiron to be kind of like a modern ruler of the sign of Virgo. There's a lot of similar like healing, learning type of connotations that go along with both signs. And Chiron and Virgo can like just tend to have some similarities between them. So it's interesting that we have such a strong Chiron influence coming in while we also have our Virgo season coming in right now as well, and the sun and the moon entering the sign of Virgo. We actually have an exact Venus Chiron square, and the moon also trines Chiron the day that the sun enters Virgo. And then we still have this emphasis on the Chiron energy via Venus in that square connection to Chiron that's real tight, a real tight aspect as our new moon in Virgo comes in. Chiron also represents karmic influences in a lot of cases, these karmic cycles that we tend to find ourselves in, and the process essentially of freeing ourselves from those through what is commonly referred to as the hero's journey, where we transcend past states of trauma and wounding and victimhood and gain the wisdom through experience that we need to ultimately heal ourselves and release ourselves from that like karmic cycle, karmic trap through this sense of gained self-mastery and conscious co-creation, therefore, with God, universe, great spirit, higher power, however you refer to and connect with the divine. So there's a lot of karmic connotations that happen to be associated with the Chiron influence. And we are moving through a lunar cycle right now that is going to be very karmic in nature, because this is the polarity, Virgo and Pisces, where the nodes of the moon are transiting right now. We have the south node in Virgo, north node in Pisces. And you know what else, you guys? We also have our eclipse season coming up, which is also a very karmic time of year, and a time of year when big changes are often seeded or originated, and Uranus is the planet of change. So I'm telling you guys, like, we are probably karmic release, dealing with karmic issues, gaining an understanding that facilitates, assists, or helps us to perhaps finally come to a point of releasing something, or like transcending some past attachment, limitation, blockage, issue, maybe even just like going on in terms of the way that we had been thinking that has kept us attached to some previous version of ourselves, or just like in some loop that wasn't allowing us to grow and expand the way that universe is calling us to do at this moment. It's also interesting, considering that I'm talking about the nodes right now, because I just was talking about the south node, you know, in the sign of Virgo, eclipse season, like all of that like release energy that could be represented. But we also have Jupiter for our new moon in a very tight trine with the north node in the sign of Pisces. Jupiter right now is in Cancer and the north node is in Pisces. They are in a tight water sign trine together, and Jupiter, of course, is like wisdom, truth, faith, hope, belief, expansion. The north node, this is the destiny point. This is where we are going and growing, whether honestly like we want to or not. This is where we are being pulled and propelled forward. And with the trine to Jupiter, this is some type of like massive growth, massive expansion, wisdom that facilitates the trine aspect. This is support, this is assistance, this is a cosmic catalyst to growth coming through somehow. Wisdom, truth, trust, faith. Faith is huge right now as well. We really need to, I think, this is probably going to be another challenge point, okay? Because there's a major distortion that's coming through in the informational field when we have the sun and the moon aligned in the sign of Virgo, ruled by Mercury, and Uranus in the sign of Gemini, ruled by Mercury. This is like scrambled. This is like super distorted, or like erratic, or like just too fast-paced, high-pitched, hard to processing errors, like all over the place type of energy. And the mental realms of things therefore could be like quite confusing, quite unpredictable. It could be like real hard to call how anything's gonna land as this energy comes through. But the faith aspect, like the trust, the intuitive component of things, like things that just seem to be happening for the best, like strokes of luck, even if maybe we don't see it that way, or just some like maybe inner knowing. But I'm telling you guys, like with the Jupiter trine to the north node of the moon, relying on our faith, falling back on our faith, the power of prayer, this outside of the box thinking, like believing in the power and the presence of a higher power. North Node in the sign of Pisces. North Node's transit through the sign of Pisces is about gaining some type of spiritual growth. Venus in the, or Jupiter in the trine right there. And that honestly, the way that this looks, like for some people, that could be what this is all about. Like awakening to some deeper truth or deeper spiritual connection, or the challenges or struggles that are presenting right now about setting us on a path or providing an experience that does culminate in some type of spiritual growth somehow. Like that, I wouldn't be surprised if like a lot of the unexplainable stuff that happens right now is really just about that. But I do think that our blessings, our good fortune, our ability to remain optimistic right now with Jupiter trining the North Node in Pisces, like that's the faith in a higher power, and our ability to trust the process. That is really where a lot of the growth is coming from. And I do think if we can stay in that place, we're probably going to face just less of the issues that may be presented by these Mercury-based squares that are probably just going to have a lot of people scrambling and kind of like feel like they're losing their mind, losing their head, like breaks from reality going on. Again, like a lot of erratic behavior. A lot of people, like this is also kind of a very electrified mental energy type of situation. A lot of people are going to be being very impulsive, very spontaneous, maybe very reckless. This can also be an accident prone energy, not paying attention, being distracted, moving too fast. Yeah, so you're going to want to watch out for all of that type of stuff. And, you know, we need to do our best to consciously stay grounded and to consciously like make the edits and invite change. Remember, this is mutable energy that's coming through here. Mutable energy is about adaptability. It is about transition. It is about being in that flow state. If we can do our best to be like less mentally rigid, less fixed on the way that things need to be, which will probably be difficult as well because Mercury, right, who is ruling the Virgo moon and the Uranian square, Mercury happens to be in the fixed sign of Leo right now, which is or can be quite determined, quite adamant, quite stubborn about things. And again, like this is how we're thinking. Like this is what's kind of like going on in our head. A lot of people could be quite like fixated or quite possessive or quite just unwilling to budge on some things, but that's really not what we want to do. This again is that mutable square. We want to be as mentally fluid with things as we can, and this whole situation I just think is like trying to get us to change. So the more that we can do to set ourselves along that path instead of fighting against or resisting that current that's going to get its way anyways, that might just make things a little bit easier as we go through this period of time. Now, there's a huge emphasis on, we already know this is like very Mercurial, which has to do with the mind, which has to do with the head, which has to do with what's going on inside our head, what we're thinking about, and what we're saying as a result. Also learning, also teaching. And it's interesting to me, again, that with both Gemini and Mercury, the two signs Gemini and Virgo, the two signs ruled by Mercury, the most energetically highlighted for Virgo season, one of Mercury's two lunar cycles that he rules throughout the year. That's already this, very strong emphasis on the Mercurial energy. And what do I always tell you guys? Me personally, as an energy reader, one of my biggest like cues or like things that I use to discern confidence in whatever the energy field seems to be saying has to do with the repetition of patterns. Like, if I'm seeing something coming through, you know, a couple of ways, oftentimes I'll look at it and I'll take notice of it. But if I'm seeing something coming through, you know, a couple of ways, and then, oh, look again over here, and then, oh, look again over here. And like, these are different systems. Like, this isn't just astrology, like it's numerology, and it's astrology, and it's also, you know, what's trending on the internet. And it's also like, just like all these various different information streams, okay, when they're all kind of saying the same thing. That's how, you know, or at least that is one of my methods. That's how I know. And we've got that going on like all over the place. I just got done describing the emphasis. Like, you really can't have a stronger Mercury blueprint going on for one of Mercury's lunar cycles. And we have symbolism that is present along with our degree placements for the Virgo new moon that is also like really hammering hard on these same themes. Like, okay, the position 1 Virgo, the Sabian symbol where the new moon itself is located, is in a portrait. The significant features of a man's head are artistically emphasized. So just by the placement of this new moon where it happens to be aligning, and in the sign of Virgo, which is already this mental energy, we're specifically talking about the significant features, the most important features of the head being emphasized. So huge emphasis right there, just like obviously like on the thoughts and what's going on inside the mind. We also have Mars at 11 degrees of Libra. That Sabian symbol is a professor peering over his glasses at his students. Super Mercury, super Virgo oriented, those students, okay? That's that Gemini energy. That professor peering over his glasses, that is Virgo, okay? So again, like those type of themes to me standing out. We have Jupiter at 16 or 17 degrees of Cancer. That Sabian symbol is the seed grows into knowledge and life, which is describing obviously like this growth oriented mindset grows into knowledge and life, like the growth coming through or promoted through this energy pattern, this energetic dynamic setup, facilitating our ability to learn something, to figure something out that could change our life in some way. And that is also the way that this particular, you know, the aspects are to me, like what they're conveying to me when I consider the entire energetic picture that we've got going on here as well. And that's the Jupiter degree, who I just got done telling you guys is in the trine to the North Node, the destiny point. This is like what we're growing into and the process of growth that is being expanded through all this other energy that is taking place right now. The seed grows into knowledge and life. And then the position of the North Node itself, a master instructing his disciple. So that's the same dynamic. We've got a like student teacher dynamic going on, Gemini, Virgo. The master also, like that's Chiron instructing his disciple or instructing his pupil. It's written like that as well. So we're on a path to self-mastery, you guys, if we can understand the assignment and learn the lessons and make the changes present, I think, as this energy comes through. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, and just because this is a potential associated with the energy, that doesn't mean that it's like always how it's going to go, but this is, I think, a bit of an underlying purpose, the way that this is coming through, and maybe just being mindful of that and keeping it in the back of our mind as we do go through whatever plays out during this period of time, which again is likely to be to an extent disruptive, you know, especially the more your particular chart is being aspected here, the more it's probably going to be showing up in your life. Check your chart, you guys. This new moon, as I said, it's at 0 degrees of Virgo. So 0 degrees of any mutable sign, you guys are going to be in harsh aspect, square opposition to the new moon, 0 degrees essentially of any other sign. This has been though, and that's another thing. If you guys have been following along with the astrology, we have been talking for a couple weeks now about, really, we've been talking for a couple months now about the significance of the very beginnings of the signs right now. We have so many planets between literally like 0 and 2 degrees of their sign right now. We have Neptune and Saturn at 0 and 1 degree of Aries. We have Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius. We have Uranus at 1 degree of Gemini. And now we have the new moon, the sun and the moon lining up at 0 degrees of Virgo. So essentially, if you have important planets in any sign right now, between like 0 and 5 degrees of that sign, you're probably going to be feeling this the most. But I would say mutable signs, Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, like you guys, if you have 0 to 5 degrees, are definitely getting hit the hardest by this energy. You are the ones that also may want to make sure that you are paying the best attention to things, not rushing. Do not rush. Okay, if you know you got somewhere to be, please go out of your way to like do what you need to do to like give yourself extra time, because rushing in this energy is where things can get out of control. That is when like the accidents can happen. Because I will tell you, and I should say, and I don't like to emphasize these type of things, so I'm not going to emphasize it at all, but I'm just going to note that this is a more accident prone energy. Okay, when we've got Uranian squares going on like this, especially in these air signs, that can be like carelessness, distractions, people not paying attention, being caught up talking about something, literally not looking in front of themselves and falling into a pothole, like and also just especially being in transit, because Mercury rules things that go back and forth. This is short distance trips and travel and being in traffic and being out and about. Actually also the degree where the earth is in always in a polar opposition to wherever the sun is, but we've got a new moon going on, so it's the polarity point to the new moon, 1 degree of the sign of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is a crowded public marketplace, and I'm saying when you perhaps are in crowds or in traffic, or I don't know, maybe just like the hustle or the bustle, that because of the Uranian square is when or where things perhaps could go a little bit like haywire, or there could just be some like weird or unexpected or shocking or bizarre things happening. And this accident prone, perhaps sometimes, if we're not paying attention, nature to things can be more prominent. So yeah, just please slow down. Please do extra to like pay attention. Make sure you are like double, triple looking both ways and checking, and like, again, consciously taking like steps to ground yourself, and also maybe like double thinking before you just impulsively or spontaneously take off, you know. I don't know. I just think that might be some good advice as we proceed forth into this energy. Again, especially if you are somebody who does have those mutable signs, 0 to 5 degrees, important planets, stelliums, Saturn, Mars. Okay, if you got Mars or Saturn there, you're definitely going to want to try to slow down, or Uranus also too. Yes. Now, another like dimension of this energy that we need to talk about has to do with relationships. I do think that there's likely to be a heavy like relationship or like financial or like legal or even like decision making perhaps thread that is somehow playing some type of highlighted role in a lot of maybe the changes that are underway right now. Matters of the heart, I would say, are definitely indicated. Again, we have Mercury, who is ruling all of this Virgo energy and the square to Uranus in the sign of Leo. That again is putting the focus on what we love, on our loyalties, on our passions. This is also perhaps like a very creative period of time. And I think, and I bet that a lot of people are going to be channeling maybe some pain that they're going through during this time as well into some very beautiful or just like very passionate creative or artistic projects, I will tell you that's a very, very good outlet. If you do find yourself like suffering, you know, heartbreak, relationship issues, just like painful situations that you're dealing with, channeling it creatively will be a therapeutic outlet here with the Mercury Leo energy. Virgo, of course, this is a sign that has to do with healing and Mercury ruling that energy in the sign of Leo, healing coming through like art, therapy, or creativity, writing, lyrics, this, that, stuff along those lines. And I also want to say, and I was talking about this in my last video as well, this is a very like dramatic and performative expression about things, okay? Emotions, our feelings, the way that we're describing things or talking about things, likely to have a bit of a dramatic flair, could be like quite performative, maybe a little bit over the top with the Mercury in the sign of Leo. And another thing, you guys, with the Gemini square, Virgo square going on, like those are the two. Mercury is, of course, it rules the twins. It's doubling things. This is about couples. This is about sets. This is also about polarity. And this is also about oppositions and dichotomies. And with this particular energetic setup, Sun and Moon in Virgo opposite Uranus in Gemini, who is also exactly trine Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, there could definitely be like two conflicting sides to a story for some reason that are coming up at this point in time that are, I don't know, very hard to tell like which is right and which is wrong. Or there could be details or information or context that is suddenly being revealed or being exposed that like introduces like another or an additional side to the story, like additional evidence, or I don't know, just like changes things or alters things somehow, that creates some type of conflict in regards to like the pre-existing understanding about something. But there could definitely very well be like conflicting narratives that are going on during this period of time that lead to some type of like shocking outcome or shocking exposure, or just like uncovering some type of information, or could just like be some type of like generalized conflict that requires some type of like out of the box solution in order to like recalibrate the situation or get back on the same page somehow. But creative thinking, you guys, like there is, I will say, despite the more challenging nature of this energy, there is like this creative genius, like creative brilliance that is present, especially in terms of, again, like solutions or remedies or figuring the way out of something that we're being gifted with as we go through this period of time as well, if we're not getting so caught up in our own ego, rage, and passion that we're kind of just tearing everything down. Because with Mercury in Leo, and also one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that Mercury's running the show, which makes sense because Mercury's in the sign of Leo right now. All the world is a stage, you guys. A lot of things, again, are going to be very performative, and whether or not they're real, that may be the question. But with Mercury's placement right now in the sign of Leo, the only aspect that Mercury is making is a sextile to Mars in the sign of Libra. So I do think that a lot of people are also going to be getting like very fired up and ready to fight for what they want or something like that. Like to pursue a desire maybe, or something like that with this type of setup too. And it's really hard to call. Again, this is a very unpredictable energy. We know that the Virgo themes are heavily activated. Again, to me, I do think that this has a lot to do with like disrupting like lifestyle patterns and stuff like that we've been doing, either knowing or unknowing, conscious or unconscious, that for some reason are negatively contributing to like our health or well-being. Like I do think that this is kind of like a cosmic remedy that's coming through here. I do think, again, you know, I've said this, red flag for mental health issues, stress, nervous tension, anxiety, cognitive dissonance. That could also be a real struggle, crazy making situation going on here. Coming to realize or to find out that everything that we had believed to be true is in some way not what we thought it was, and therefore having to like recalibrate our own mind as a reflection of that, and like trying to get back on the same page with ourselves, or like watching other people trying to get on the same page with themselves, or rather perhaps maybe deciding that they're just going to bury their head in the sand and not address any of it, which could be going on as well. I don't know, that could be going on. This also to me is giving a vibe that could in many ways relate to like processing errors. And I do think that we could see them, like literal processing errors, like again, like transactions and stuff, dealing with like the internet and stuff like that, not going through. It kind of feels like jammed up communication lines, networks not being clear, or like just being like overloaded maybe, or something like that. So another like maybe good piece of advice would be like, if you need to relay some type of important communication and like there's a deadline that you need to do it on, I wouldn't wait till the last minute here. I would like go ahead and give yourself ample time for your message to get through, because there just seems like there's going to be some like strange interruptions or disruptions or interference in the ability to like transmute or relay messages, just, you know, get them from one place to another without some type of like issues going on throughout, you know, the weekend, but also just kind of like generally moving through this Virgo cycle. So that might be something to, you know, just keep in mind. I wouldn't procrastinate on things. I also wouldn't really splurge on things this cycle. Financial pain could be an element of this as well with the Venus Chiron square. There could be some like unexpected household expenses or like family-based expenses that come up here. Also maybe like things to do with, I don't know, like the mother or like children. I don't know, just like these Cancer themes, because Venus is in the sign of Cancer right now, square Chiron. Venus has to do with money. Chiron also has to do with money. Virgo has to do with money. All of these squares. So I would recommend saving over being like spending a little extra if you have the choice, or if it is within your control to do so throughout the course of this cycle. Also, you know, be careful not to just like over drain yourself, to run yourself into the ground. And with that Venus Chiron square, also like be careful over giving or like sacrificing your personal self and your own needs in order to like maintain the peace, or like maintain some type of image or some type of just, I don't know, like group harmony or something like that. With Venus squaring Chiron and also Mars, remember, in the aspect to Mercury ruling the moon, Mars is in Libra, which is the sign ruled by Venus. This is where our energy is oriented. And like with Mars in Libra, sometimes we can put too much energy into like maintaining the like peace in situations, like not rocking the boat, like people pleasing and stuff like that. And with Venus, who's ruling Mars in the sign of Cancer, that is about self-care. And Mars also has to do with the self. So there could be kind of like a fine line that people feel like they're walking, or you could feel maybe like there could be issues having to do with like sacrificing our own needs in order to like meet some type of group expectation. But to me, this energy is saying that you need to like put yourself first in order to make sure that you are just not draining your energy and can maintain your health and well-being in this energy, because there is a potential for like injury or illness, or I don't know, just diminished maybe like health and vitality if we are like over giving, over sharing, over promising, over committing. This Mars and Libra type of energy. And again, it could be very healing to channel energy creatively in a more like personalized way with this particular energetic setup as well. But we want to do our best, as I have already enthusiastically stated, to break patterns and make changes. We do not want to be falling back, you guys, in this energy into old patterns that have hurt us in the past, expecting a different result. If you've tried it and you've tried it again and you've tried it a third time and you always get the same results, like, this is when you need to make a change. And if you are not willing to make the change, if you are going to be stubborn, if you are going to be dug in, then well, things are probably going to change anyways, and it's just not going to be up to you or your decisions. So there is an emphasis on decisions, though, for sure, when we have both of Mercury's signs being so energetically dominant in our Virgo season this year, which is already Mercury's season. So there could be some big important decisions that are underway. Again, like, this is also giving vibes having to do with like legal decisions and judgments about stuff, also like deals and negotiations and partnerships and agreements. There could be shocking announcements or disclosures or revelations, and there could also be like news and stuff that is centered around health, healing, maybe like drugs, pharmaceuticals, big pharma perhaps for some reason, or like the medical establishment. And also, and perhaps maybe most specifically, now this is an interesting thread that I feel like could easily manifest or come about in energy like this as well. Newly emerging, like, very innovative health treatments, health solutions, protocols, interventions that unexpectedly disrupt maybe the status quo of things in the established medical industry, established medical body of knowledge somehow. That could be something that just happens in an energetic setup like this as well, that actually like leads to advancements in medicine or healing somehow. This is a very like innovative and inventive energy, and like I said, there is a true like stroke of brilliance and ingenuity that comes through when we've got something like this as well, but especially in the context of remedies and solutions. That's why I'm thinking like some type of like maybe like medical intervention or like new treatment, like groundbreaking treatment or something like that. And like, even when I'm saying groundbreaking, like, that is also this Virgo earth sign new moon in the square to Uranus. That would be something groundbreaking because, you know, Uranus, that's like shaking the foundations of things. So I don't know, maybe we'll see something like that go on. Wouldn't be surprised about it. And the personal motivation also with Mars in the sign of Libra and in the sextile to Mercury in Leo. That is not that it's a self-centered energy, but the sign of Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun oftentimes puts a focus on the self. Mars is also an energy that is very much ego and self-based energy. I mean, it has to do with Aries and the first house, like literally the physical body, the personal essence, the self. And when we've got both of these, you know, Mercury and Leo in the connection to Mars, there is just likely to be an inherent focus on like, what can I do to make myself feel better? And then with all this Virgo energy and with all this Chiron energy, I don't know, maybe like some type of personal healing journey or plan or mindset could accompany the way that things are generally coming together right now as well. And another thing maybe to keep in mind here, it is very likely that the way that you are personally responding to this energy and what you are feeling called to or compelled to do for yourself in this energy just totally makes no sense to anybody else. I think that a lot of people are just going to be like totally baffled and confused by the actions and the behaviors and like the thoughts and the ideas and the methods and the madness behind like what other people are kind of just like spontaneously being inspired to do in this energy. Like, how people are handling things is likely not to make a whole bunch of sense to other people. But this is, again, as I was just describing with the Mars-Mercury dynamic, this is this like deeply personal energy. And it is bringing these like epiphanies and these like sudden awakenings and this like outside of the box thinking. So I think, and this is another thing that might be difficult because this is Virgo energy, which can be a little bit critical. It can be a little bit judgmental at times. So, doing our best not to be over judgmental of ourselves or over judgmental of other people. There's also this very strong intuitive component of things with the Jupiter North Node trine as well. So I guess kind of like staying in our own lane and minding our own business, and also not worrying necessarily about what other people might think about our personal remedies and solutions that are coming to us right now. There's probably some mental health balancing benefits that could be associated with deciding to take on that type of mindset as we move forward through this window period as well. But I mean, it is disruptive, right? It does give emotional unrest. There is likely to be a lack of satisfaction with the status quo of things, just with the baseline, with maybe how things are going. People probably are going to be seeking to stir the pot. This is a rebellious energy, okay? It is not going to be a normal weekend. It's not probably going to be a normal couple of weeks. Unexpected issues, breakdowns, and obstructions, again, like to our plans, to our schedules, to our agendas. And I'm saying plans, schedules, agendas, lists, like that's all Virgo oriented stuff, okay? Like the systems that we follow on a day-to-day basis to get out what we get out of what we put into things, what we harvest from our efforts. This is all that Virgo energy. So with the Uranian square, therefore, the normal routines, the normal systems, the normal rules, the normal protocols, the normal plans, the normal schedules, like all that is likely to be just poof, thrown up into the air or struck by lightning for some reason. And mutable energy, we're therefore being forced to adapt. So again, if we can kind of like wire our own mind in that regard, knowing that going into this energy, it may just save you a couple of headaches along the way, okay? So plans are probably just not likely to go as planned. We want to be adaptable. We don't want to be that fixed Mercury energy, stubborn, like it has to be a certain way, or, it's the end of the world. Like that's just probably going to cause more heartache than we like really truly actually need to deal with. And heartache may just be a theme for some reason with Venus, the heart exactly almost square Chiron for this situation. Another thing, be maybe a little bit cautious or careful with like cuts or burns to the hands or fingers with the way that this energy is just set up, and the fact that we have Mercury ruling that square in the sign of Leo, right? This firepower energy, and in the aspect to Mars, who also has to do with like cuts and sharp objects and hot objects and burns and stuff like that. Mercury rules the hands and the fingers. So, fire, blades, sharp or blunt objects, either or, and also electricity and in traffic. Again, if we're not paying attention, if we're getting ahead of ourselves, sometimes accidents are more likely to occur in energy like this. So in order to remedy that, we just need to maintain a conscious awareness. We need to not put ourselves in positions where we need to, or like we feel like we need to rush. We want to be careful also about overreacting to things based on first impressions. Another thing, this energy is tricky. Uranian energy, often things are not what they seem, okay? This is blessings in disguise energy. This is silver lining energy. A lot of times it seems as though like it's the worst thing that could ever happen, but in retrospect, we realize that it was actually the best thing that could ever happen. If you've had experiences like that in your life, I can almost guarantee to you that Uranus was pressing on one of your planets and was like a catalyst for whatever that was. And, obviously that is the nature of what we've got going on here. So, we do want to be aware that there, we don't want to react to things too early, okay? Because additional information could be exposed, could emerge, narratives, facts, data, sides of the story that change things somehow. And again, there could be these conflicting narratives or conflicting storylines going on. Trust your gut, you guys, with the Jupiter North Node conjunction. Jupiter rules truth, okay? The truth will set you free, and that is what is leading to our growth. And it is also our faith. It is also our connection to a higher power, spiritual growth, you know. And literally, like, we're talking about Virgo, that's an earth sign. If everything in your life feels like it's falling apart right now, or nothing will come together, or nothing is stable, or nothing is predictable, and you can't trust it, like, cultivate your faith. That is the spiritual directive here. Like, that is ultimately, again, what actually a lot of this is probably about. There is spiritual growth that is heavily infused in all that's going on right now. So if everything in the physical world, you know, seems to just be doing its own thing, regardless of whatever your personal preferences might be, spending some time or shifting the focus to like a more faith-based approach, or really falling into your faith right now, could be something that does help to alleviate some of that stress, anxiety, or tension. And this could be crazy making, honestly, like, even for the best of us, even knowing this information. Uranus's things oftentimes just happening, and a lot is going to feel out of our control right now. And, you know, again, it comes back to mutable energy, just doing our best to stay grounded and to adapt and go with the flow of the transitioning circumstances right now, making small changes that are beneficial or productive to our own personal systems, protocols, the way that we're doing day-to-day life, doing things to improve or to upgrade our self-care, or our diet, nutrition, workout, stuff like that. Anything that we can do to promote our health, make positive changes to enhance our well-being, that is, I do think, where we should be, for the most part, focusing our energy here. And again, there's probably likely to be a strong focus, again, as well, on like things happening in relationships or financial situations that could be causing us to alter our day-to-day habits, lifestyles, routines, and stuff like that as well. Again, like, there's something very karmic here, centered more strongly on like the karmic release, breaking karmic cycles, disruptions, again, to these perpetuating patterns that may have been going on consciously or unconsciously, but have somehow been stunting our growth. I think that this cycle is all about like trying to help us get off some hamster wheel, maybe that we haven't been able to get ourselves off adequately enough until this particular period of time. One kind of like final thing that I want to bring up, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, this is a highly rebellious energy, you guys. I wouldn't necessarily expect people to be willing to listen, to follow directions, to follow rules. Again, like, not paying attention, like, cannot be tamed, will not be disciplined, will not be controlled, will not conform. And Mercury also has to do and rules children. I would pick your battles wisely this week, you guys. This is not a week where you really want to be asserting dominance or power over anyone, big or small, but like especially your like children and stuff like that, just because you want it to be done a certain way. If we're pushing from a place of ego rather than from a place of like genuine like importance or significance, or because like it's like legitimately dangerous if you don't listen to me, like if we're just kind of pushing because like we want things to be a certain way, and you know it's really not at the end of the day that crucial, but like we just are wanting it that way, I just don't think it's going to go well. You're going to get rebellion. You're going to get resentment. It's going to be a fight, you know, like metaphorically, like to the death type of situation. And again, Venus square Chiron, like nobody comes out unscathed from this. Like it's kind of like maybe like a heartbreaking situation, or everybody's like wounded in the end somehow. Like everybody has hurt feelings and like their heart is a little sore after what goes on. If we are engaging in conflicts here that are ego based and are just not like genuinely necessary or like important, for some reason. So that's just like maybe another word of advice that I'm seeing in the context of this here energy. So again, we kind of want to do our best despite the absolute challenge that it might be to go with the flow a little bit, you know, be adaptable, like try to be okay with things and not absolutely need to assert ourselves based on like purely ego driven compulsions or passions or like I want it that way, so do it, you know. I just don't think that that is going to work in anybody's interest. Okay, so choose your battles wisely regardless of who you are verbally stepping into the arena with in this particular new moon energy, or really the energy of the weekend as a whole. I mean, Sunday, the day after the new moon, is the same energy carried over. That's actually the day when we have the sun exactly squaring Uranus. The moon will have moved on a bit, but the sun will be at 1 degree of Uranus in the exact square to, or the sun will be at 1 degree of Virgo in the exact square to Uranus at 1 degree of Gemini. So more of the same on Sunday for sure. We're also starting, of course, the week off on Monday, still in that same energy, although there will be a bit of a wider orb to start. But I would imagine that Monday is going to have or come with some very interesting like news or headlines as well. Now, remember, we also have Saturn and Neptune at 0 and 1 degree of Aries right now. We've got Pluto at 1 degree of the sign of Aquarius. So we are also going to have a couple quincunxes going on with the sun being in the sign of Virgo in that exact square to Uranus and Gemini. Those are also just kind of like awkward, uncomfortable connections that could be creating like that same type of basic vibe. Like, it's just nothing really feels super settled about this. Nothing really feels super clear. It is meant to teach us something important, something valuable. Again, I mean, the North Node trining Jupiter, right? The North Node is at that 18 or 19 degrees of the sign of Virgo. 19 Virgo, that Sabian symbol is a master instructing his disciple. And we also have Jupiter in that trine at 17 Cancer. The seed grows into knowledge and life. And also, as I said, you know, we have Mars in the only planet that Mercury, who's ruling this entire chart and ruling all the energy this weekend, is aspecting at 11 degrees of sign of Libra, a professor peering over his glasses at his students. So I do think that we need to like learn our lessons here, understand the assignments and make the changes. This is about breaking, or perhaps with that Uranian energy, even shattering the patterns, the habits, or the karmic attachments or the karmic ties, again, that may have kept us doing things that generally just like isn't good for us or in our best interest, maybe even if we weren't aware of it. But that is what this, I think, lunar cycle is trying to bring to us as well, an awareness of what needs to be fixed, how to fix it, and then also the motivation to actually make the changes. Mercury ruling the cycle in the aspect to Mars, that is something that inspires action. That does give us, Mercury sextile Mars does give us a great ability to like focus on the task at hand and put the energy forth that is necessary to get the job done. So we do have the support to make it happen, you guys. Again, things could be all over the place. This is not like a straightforward energy by any means, and it does, again, require this outside the box thinking to come up with the solution. But the solution is like groundbreaking. It could be like life-changing or paradigm shifting. And I do think we are maybe being given the key to unlock something of great importance to us somehow if we learn the lessons associated with the times and the way that all this is coming together for us. So that is what I have to say, you guys, for our new moon in Virgo astrology reading for the and the way that energy may just be manifesting and expressing itself throughout the course of this entire weekend. Now I am going to get us a synchronicity card. I'm asking God, Spirit, Universe, what do we need to know? What should we keep in mind? Oh, we've got 2 cards that came out for our messages for the new moon, and our first message says dream, and our second message says keep the faith, which I feel like is an important part, which I've said, of this new moon also. Okay, dream. And shout for joy, all ye who are upright in heart, Psalms 32:11. Your biggest joy will be in the knowledge that you have overcome setbacks and disappointments. Be persistent, believe in your dreams, and continue going forward. God does not give us a dream without also giving us the means to attain that dream, which, like, that to me is just totally speaking to the North Node in the sign of Pisces right now. Pisces is a sign that is associated with our dreams and our ideals and our visions. The North Node is there. That is helping to expand our dreams and our visions and our ideals for what could be a potential in the future. And again, with that Jupiterian trine going on right there, it's funny to me that we got both dream and keep the faith, because that really might be what we need to focus on as we move through this period of time, staying future focused on our dreams and maintaining the faith of what could be, despite perhaps what maybe seems like it's falling apart at the moment. Okay, the second card says keep the faith. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, Psalms 23:1. God is within you and watching over you. You will see evidence of this fact in your life very soon if you cannot see it this very second. Go on forward with confidence. Everything is working together for your good right now. So keep the dream alive, you guys. Keep the faith. Try not, again, to like hyper react to sudden information that might come through. There's a good chance that there's going to be like some contradiction that comes with it somehow, or just some type of like sudden twist or turn of event related to it unexpectedly that like changes the whole game somehow. But I mean, this is pretty specific and pretty clear. We should do our best to cultivate our connection and our faith as we move through this period of time and not lose sight of our dreams. And I also like how this is talking about your biggest joy will be in the knowledge that you have overcome setbacks and disappointments. Like, we're talking about Mercury ruling all this energy that is the knowledge in the sign of Leo, which is all about, you know, cultivating joy and the joy in our hearts. So dream, you guys, keep the faith. That's what I have to say. I'm gonna stop talking now. That's what I think, and that's our synchronicity message for the new moon in Virgo. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments. Let me know what's going on with you guys out there. If you are having experiences that line up with or reflect what I'm talking about in these videos, draw me a comment. Let me know in the comment section below. That is very valuable information to me if you want to know what's on this here whiteboard. I have a Facebook group where I generally post my images of these boards. So if you want to know what that whole board says, you can click that link in my description box. It'll take you to that Facebook group, and that is where you can find the boards. Other than that, come back with me on Monday, you guys. We're getting back into a full week of astrology videos. I'll be back with 3 videos next week, and we're going to be starting off on Monday, and we're going to be starting off in more of this Sun square Uranus energy. So you don't want to miss it, and I will be back to talk all about it then. I will see you next time, guys. Have a beautiful weekend, and until then, bye.